He built an empire from broken homes, only to find out his biggest enemy knew every move before he made it, because he used to call him brother. The first money Sam ever earned came from a creek. He and Daniel were 10. Summer in rural Georgia was a heavy, syrupy thing, slow, loud with insects, sticky with heat. The two boys had found a rusted wheelbarrow, repaired it with duct tape, and started hauling rocks from the creek to old Mr. Wilkins' property where he was building a fence. He paid them $5 per load. It was more money than they'd ever seen. By the end of August, they'd made $120. They split it evenly, except Sam gave Daniel $10 extra because his mom was sick and sometimes couldn't afford her pills. Daniel tried to argue, but Sam shoved the bills in his hand and walked away. That was always how their friendship worked, Sam giving, Daniel resisting but taking it anyway. Years passed, they were inseparable through high school. Daniel was sharper, quicker with numbers, always a few beats ahead in math class, but Sam had presence. Teachers listened when he spoke. Girls, too. Daniel didn't mind. They were a team. They both got out. Barely. Sam earned a football scholarship to the University of South Carolina. Daniel scrapped his way into Georgia Tech with grants and tutoring gigs. They kept in touch at first, texts, calls, occasional long drives across state lines. But life, as it does, began to spread them apart like leaves floating on different branches of the same river. Sam blew out his knee junior year. His scholarship gone, he took night classes and found work in roofing. Daniel interned with a venture capital firm in Atlanta and was promoted before he even graduated. They didn't speak for almost 2 years after college, not out of anger, just inertia. Sam stayed in Columbia, got into real estate. He had a knack for flipping, taking forgotten places and making them desirable. Within 5 years, he owned 12 properties, had his name on signs, business cards, billboards. He built it from the ground up. No investors, no shortcuts. When Daniel called out of the blue and suggested lunch, Sam didn't hesitate. They met at a boutique cafe overlooking the broad river. Daniel wore a slim, tailored suit, Sam a button-down with fraying cuffs. Still, the laughter came easy. "You've done well," Daniel said, sipping espresso. "You always had the hustle." "You too," Sam said. "What are you up to these days?" Daniel's smile had a curve to it. "Let's just say, I help people build empires." They didn't get into details. It wasn't until 3 months later that Sam saw the first sign, an anonymous bid on a property he'd been eyeing. He offered $2.1 million. The counter came back at $2.05. Aggressive, personal. He brushed it off, market was hot. Then it happened again and again. Same pattern. Sam would scout a neglected lot, put together a team, begin negotiations, and someone would swoop in at the last minute with deeper pockets, cleaner terms, faster closings. At first he thought it was coincidence, then he started asking questions. The third realtor slipped and said, "Your buddy Daniel's firm offered cash up front." "Sorry, Sam." "Buddy?" Sam stared at his ceiling that night for hours, heart a dry, bitter drum in his chest. The same Daniel he once defended in a cafeteria fight. The same Daniel whose mom he used to drive to the pharmacy. The same Daniel who sat across from him 3 months ago, smiling like old times. It wasn't just business. Daniel knew every inch of Sam's strategy, the neighborhoods he favored, the way he negotiated, even which construction guys he trusted. And now he was using all of it, every damn memory, against him. Sam felt something deep inside shift, not break, not yet, but tilt like the ground beneath him was no longer solid. 3 days after learning the truth, Sam drove to Atlanta without telling anyone. He didn't plan it, just woke up before dawn, his sheets tangled and sweat-soaked, shoved a few clothes in a gym bag, and hit I-20 with a thermos of stale coffee and a pulsing ache behind his ribs. Daniel's office sat on the 20th floor of a glass tower that gleamed like ice. Sam remembered when Daniel used to dream about working in a building with elevators. Now he owned 3 floors of one. The receptionist smiled as he stepped off the elevator. "Do you have an appointment?" "Just tell him it's Sam. He'll want to see me." Her brow furrowed slightly, but she picked up the phone. 15 minutes later, Daniel emerged from a frosted glass door with that same polished, unreadable smile. He wore a navy suit this time, no tie, shirt crisp like it had never touched sweat. The hallway lighting bounced off his gold cufflinks. "Sam," he said, voice low and pleasant, "wasn't expecting you. You got a minute?" Daniel led him into his office, floor-to-ceiling windows, a walnut desk, a decanter of amber liquid catching the morning sun like fire in a bottle. Sam didn't sit. He stood with fists in his jacket pockets and stared out the window. "You've been buying out my deals," he said. No accusation in the tone, just weariness. Daniel didn't flinch. "You're building fast. I figured you'd expand here eventually. Better to get ahead of it." Sam turned. "So that's what we are now, opponents." "We were always going to end up on the same field, Sam." Daniel poured himself a drink and held the glass without sipping. "I can't slow down to let you catch up." "You could have called, warned me." Daniel's expression tightened, just a flicker. "I owe you a lot, but not my career." Those words struck harder than Sam expected. He looked at his friend, his former friend, and wondered when that divide had formed, when loyalty dried up, when childhood debts stopped mattering. "You're not building," Sam said quietly. "You're buying." Daniel smiled again, but it was thinner now. "That's what capital does, it buys." Sam left without saying goodbye. Back in Colombia, something changed. He stopped trying to outbid Daniel. Instead, he went smaller, deeper. Neighborhoods no one was watching. He took risks, bought a block of foreclosures and turned one into a daycare, another into a free clinic with volunteer nurses. The returns weren't immediate, but they built goodwill. He started talking to people, not developers but residents. Learned who lived where, who owned what, who wanted to sell but didn't trust banks. His crew worked overtime. Some weeks he slept at job sites. One evening, while reviewing permits at a Waffle House, a man approached him. Late 40s, construction boots, eyes sharp as gravel. "You the one fixing up Hargrave Street?" "That's me." "You looking for investors, quiet ones?" Sam narrowed his eyes. "Depends." The man sat down uninvited and slid over a file. "Name, Leonard Bell. Used to run half this city until the crash. I've been watching you. You're not flashy, you're stubborn. That's what this place needs." Inside the folder was access to $2 million in quiet capital, backed by properties Sam hadn't even scouted yet. He took the deal, and things began to shift again. 6 months later, Sam stood at the opening of the community center he'd rebuilt. It used to be a meth house. Now it was glass and brick and steel, with kids laughing in the courtyard and families lined up for the food pantry. Daniel showed up. Not uninvited, not smug. He wore jeans. No entourage, just stood near the back of the ribbon-cutting crowd with hands in his pockets, eyes scanning the building. Sam noticed him but didn't wave. After the ceremony, Daniel approached. They stood near a magnolia tree someone had planted last week. "You always knew how to play the long game," Daniel said quietly. "I'm not playing a game." Daniel nodded once slowly. "That's why you're winning." There was a long pause. Wind moved through the branches. Somewhere a baby cried. Laughter chased it. Sam turned toward him. "Why are you really here?" Daniel looked older suddenly, like the city had taken something from him. "You ever build something," he said, voice hoarse, "and then realize it's not what you thought it would be?" Sam didn't answer. But for the first time in years, he saw not a rival, just a boy from Georgia standing on the other side of the river. Sam didn't sleep that night. Daniel's question looped through his head like a slow-moving storm. "You ever build something, and then realize it's not what you thought it would be?" It gnawed at him, not just because it sounded like regret, but because it was too familiar. Sam had asked himself the same thing quietly during long drives between sites, or when he walked into his empty apartment after another 14-hour day. The question didn't scare him. What scared him was how much of his life it could apply to. A week later, Daniel called. "I want to show you something," he said. Sam hesitated. "It's not a trap," Daniel added. "No business pitch, just come see." They met at a warehouse just south of downtown Atlanta. The area was all chain-link fences and graffiti, the kind of place Sam would have driven past 5 years ago without a second glance. Daniel unlocked the door himself. Inside it was cavernous, concrete floors, high beams, light slicing in through broken skylights. But it wasn't empty. Along the walls were renderings, blueprints, scale models. Sam stepped closer. One showed a homeless housing complex with medical facilities. Another, a small business incubator for women coming out of prison. "What is this?" he asked. "My other project," Daniel said, "the one I never talk about." Sam looked around again. "Why keep it quiet?" Daniel exhaled. Because it doesn't make money, because it doesn't impress investors, because when you start telling people you want to do something good, they look for the angle. You do have an angle. Daniel smiled faintly. Yeah, I'm tired of being the villain. Sam crossed his arms. So what, you're turning over a new leaf? Daniel didn't flinch. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking if you want in. That stopped Sam. In, he repeated, as in partner. I need someone who understands how to build, not just with blueprints but with people, someone who doesn't flinch when it gets messy. I've got land, I've got donors, but I don't have you. Sam stared at him. You could have led with this 6 months ago. I wasn't ready then. And you think I trust you now? No, Daniel said, but I think you believe in the work. Sam didn't say anything. He studied one of the models, a community garden next to a shelter. It had benches, a swing set. You still drink Old Forester? Daniel asked suddenly. Only on Fridays. There's a bar 2 blocks from here. The bar was old wood and dim lights and smelled faintly of oranges and smoke. They sat in a booth near the back. Neither man said much at first. Finally, Sam broke the silence. You ever think about the creek? Daniel grinned. Mr. Wilkins and that damn wheelbarrow. Your mom gave us root beer in jam jars. She made us wash our hands in vinegar first. They laughed, and it was real this time. For a second, they weren't developers or rivals or men who had outgrown each other's trust. Just 2 boys from Georgia, stained with river mud and $10 dreams. Then Daniel leaned in. I have a confession. Sam arched an eyebrow. That first property you lost in Colombia, I didn't know it was yours. Sam blinked. But once I found out, I didn't back off. Sam chuckled dryly. Yeah, I figured. I was angry, Daniel said, that you were doing it without me, that you didn't need me. Sam met his eyes. I thought you outgrown me. Daniel didn't answer. That night Sam drove back to Columbia in silence. No music, just the hum of tires and a steady beat in his chest. The next morning, he called a contractor and asked how fast they could finish the last 2 rehabbed houses on Green Street. Then he called Daniel. Tell me more about the shelter, he said. They started slowly. One shared project, an abandoned textile plant turned into affordable housing for veterans. Sam handled logistics and community outreach. Daniel brought in permits, funding, and charm. Word spread fast. The boys from Georgia, they started calling them. Some whispered about unlikely alliances. Others speculated about future fights. But none could ignore the buildings rising, the jobs returning, the lives shifting. Sam wasn't naive. He still didn't fully trust Daniel, but something strange had begun to bloom in the space between them. Not forgiveness, not yet, but recognition. That maybe what they'd lost wasn't gone, just buried, waiting. Success tastes different when it's earned with someone you once hated. The textile plant opened on a rainy Thursday. The ribbon was wet, the crowd smaller than hoped, but inside the place smelled like hope, fresh paint, new linoleum, the bitter tang of possibility. Veterans with tired eyes stood shoulder to shoulder, watching as Daniel handed a retired sergeant the ceremonial key. Sam hung back. Let Daniel have the spotlight. He preferred the after-hours moments anyway, when everyone left and the building went quiet and he could walk the hallways alone, touching doorframes, inspecting baseboards, looking for cracks. It was during one of those late walks that he found her. A woman sitting on the floor of the hallway back against the wall. Mid-30s, skin like river stone, dark tired eyes, a blue folder clutched to her chest. She wasn't crying, just sitting, holding still like it was the only thing keeping her from unraveling. Ma'am, Sam said gently, you okay? She looked up, blinked slowly, then nodded, waiting on a unit. They said the paperwork got delayed. Sam checked her file. Melissa Garvey, former Army medic, no criminal record, just bad luck stacked on worse luck. Come with me, he said. He led her to the manager's office, made coffee in a dusty machine, and called Daniel, waking him up. We're giving her a unit, now. Daniel didn't argue. The next morning, Sam installed the smoke alarm himself. Melissa stood in the kitchen and watched him with a look somewhere between suspicion and disbelief. You the landlord? She asked. Something like that. You don't look like the type. Sam smiled. You do. Word spread fast after that. The landlord who listens. The ex-football guy who fixed the water heater himself. Stories swirled. some true, some not, but they built a reputation stronger than any billboard. And then the letter arrived. Thick envelope, expensive paper, a seal Sam didn't recognize. Inside, a formal invitation to speak at the Southeastern Urban Housing Conference. Keynote speaker, all expenses paid. They wanted him. Sam stared at it for hours. Daniel found him in his office, lights off, letter open on the desk. "You should go," he said. "They think I'm something I'm not." "No," Daniel replied. "They're seeing what you've become." Sam rubbed his jaw. "I don't do speeches." "Then just tell them the truth." Atlanta, stage lights, a podium that smelled like varnish and nerves. Sam's palms sweat through the first 5 minutes. His voice cracked. He dropped a paper. But then he told them about the creek. About Daniel. About the house that used to be a meth den, and now had kids drawing murals in the hallway. He didn't use words like ROI or impact value. He used names, faces, stories. When he finished, the applause didn't come immediately. It rolled in slow, like people weren't sure if they were supposed to clap or cry. Daniel waited for him in the wings, arms crossed, grinning. "You didn't suck," he said. "High praise," Sam replied. They left through a side door to avoid the reporters. That night back at the hotel, Sam got a call. It was his mother. She sounded tight, shaky. "It's your brother," she said. "What happened?" "He's missing." Sam sat up straight. "What do you mean missing?" "He called last week, said he was in trouble, money trouble, then nothing. I've called every number, he's not answering." Sam closed his eyes. His brother, Troy, was always the one who drifted. Gambling, drugs, quick jobs with shady people. Sam had bylaid him out more times than he could count. They hadn't spoken in 6 months. "I'll find him," Sam said. And just like that, everything shifted. The building, the speeches, the progress. None of it mattered if blood was in danger. Daniel didn't ask questions when Sam canceled a week of meetings. He just handed him a burner phone. "Call if it gets bad," he said. "And Sam, be careful who you trust." Sam nodded, but he was already gone. He was driving south by midnight, chasing shadows, old wounds, and a name that still mattered more than any deal he'd ever made. Troy always ran toward the fire. That was his problem. While Sam spent his 20s building walls and laying foundations, Troy was tearing through cities. Bar tabs, bailouts, the kind of company that only shows up when the lights are low and the rent's overdue. Finding him wasn't easy. His phone was off. His last known address in Savannah was a boarded-up duplex with scorch marks on the siding. Sam knocked anyway, no answer. He walked around back and found a woman in an oversized hoodie smoking under a carport. "Looking for someone?" she asked, not unkindly. "Yeah, Troy Palmer, my brother." She exhaled slowly, not surprised. "You Sam?" His stomach clenched. "Yeah." She nodded toward a dented Camry. "He left in that a few days ago, said he was going west, sounded scared." "Scared of what?" She hesitated. "He owed money, to guys who don't do second warnings." "Names?" She shook her head. "I've seen what happens when you say the wrong one." Sam drove west. Augusta, then Macon, chasing hints and rumors and bad memories. Every diner waitress, every motel clerk gave a little piece, like breadcrumbs dropped in fear. The story came together in shards. Troy had taken money from a loan shark named Boone Cross, a name Sam hadn't heard since high school. Back then, Boone sold pills from a pickup truck behind the football field. Now he ran half the backroom gambling in Georgia. Sam found him in a bar outside Albany. Boone hadn't changed much, still thick-necked, mean-eyed, chewing a toothpick like it owed him money. "Troy," Boone said, grinning like a butcher. "Now there's a name I haven't heard in, what, a week." "Where is he?" Boone leaned back, slow and smug. "You gonna pay his debt." "How much?" "82 grand with interest." Sam's mouth went dry. What the hell did he do? Lost, then borrowed to win it back, then lost again. Boone stood and leaned in close. "I liked you, Sam. You were always the quiet one, smart, but your brother, he's a walking disaster. Maybe it's time he pays." Sam didn't flinch. "You lay a hand on him, I burn down everything you own." Boone chuckled. "You got that kind of heat now, huh?" The community center boy's grown teeth. Sam stepped closer. "Test me." The room went still. Boone waved a hand. "Relax, he's alive. Last I heard, he was hiding out near Cordell. Some trailer park off the old highway. If you find him, tell him his tab's still open. The trailer was sagging and stained, surrounded by overgrown weeds and beer cans. Sam knocked once. Then again. Nothing. He reached for the handle, unlocked, and pushed the door open. Troy was on the couch, shirtless, pale, with a stitched gash above his left eye. He looked like hell. Sam stood in the doorway, heart pounding. Jesus, Troy. Troy blinked. Sam. You look like a raccoon got in a fight with a blender. A weak laugh, then coughing, then silence. Sam walked in, closed the door behind him. I'm in deep, Troy whispered. They said they'd come back. I didn't know where else to go. You could have called me. I thought you were done with me. Sam knelt beside him. You're my brother. I'll never be done with you, but you've got to stop running. I don't know how. Sam stared at him. Then I'll show you. It took everything Sam had. He liquidated half of a development fund, called in favors, leaned on Daniel. I need $82,000, he said. Daniel didn't blink. Done. No paperwork. Daniel looked at him hard. It's not that kind of loan. Sam hung up and wired the money. Boone confirmed receipt. Your boy's clean for now. Sam brought Troy home to Columbia, put him in one of the units at the vet complex, even though he wasn't a vet. Said he was staff to avoid scrutiny. Every day Troy went to counseling. Sam sat with him some nights, eating Chinese food, watching baseball. For the first time in years they weren't shouting. Just breathing the same air. Then came the envelope. Unmarked, hand-delivered. Inside, photos. Grainy black and white shots of Daniel, a parking garage, a woman, a briefcase, cash. A note scribbled in sharp red ink. Your friend's not who he says he is. Sam stared at it for a long time. His gut went cold. Because the woman in the photos. She worked for Boone Cross. And the meeting happened the same day Daniel gave him the 82 grand. Sam didn't sleep. He didn't pace either. He just sat at his desk, staring at the photos until dawn painted the blinds with gray slashes. Daniel had always been good at two things, making money and hiding intent. But this crossed a line Sam hadn't even known existed. By noon he was back in Atlanta. No warning, no text. He walked straight into Daniel's office and dropped the envelope on his desk. Daniel opened it. His expression didn't change. He flipped through the photos slowly, like he was browsing a brochure for something he already regretted. Say something, Sam said, voice taut. Daniel sighed. I was going to tell you. When it wouldn't sound like blackmail. Sam's jaw flexed. What is this, you working with Boone now? Not working, surviving. Daniel leaned back, eyes sharp. He had leverage on me, an old deal from years ago. I paid him off to keep him away from you, from your brother, from the projects. So you gave him cash, met with his people. Yes, quietly. I didn't want to drag you into it. Sam let out a bitter laugh. You dragged me into it the second you touched his money. I didn't take his money, Daniel snapped. I paid him off, big difference. Is it? Sam asked. Daniel stood. You think I don't know what he is? That man had people watching you, watching Troy. If I hadn't stepped in, he'd have put a bullet in someone just to send a message. And you didn't think I could handle that. Daniel looked at him raw. I thought you had too much to lose. Silence settled like dust between them, thick, unshakable. Sam's voice dropped. You should have told me. I didn't want you to see me like this. I see you now, Sam said coldly. And then he left. Back in Columbia, things were shifting. Whispers started circling about how Sam had pulled off that debt so fast, about Daniel's name showing up in bank documents, rumors of pressure on zoning boards, quiet money moving behind city walls. Sam's phone rang constantly, concerned board members, cautious donors. The story was unraveling. And Troy, he was watching the fallout from the sidelines, guilt all over his face. This is because of me, he said one night. I'm the reason he got involved. No, Sam replied. He made his choice. But part of him didn't believe that. Part of him knew that if roles were reversed, if someone threatened Daniel's family, he might have done worse. The problem was trust. Once cracked, it didn't rebuild clean. A week later, Sam got a call from Leonard Bell, the silent investor who had once handed him $2 million in seed capital. Your foundation's leaking, Leonard said. Not your buildings, your partnerships. I'm fixing it. Fix it faster, because if you fall, I fall, and I don't fall quiet. The line went dead. Sam stood there holding the phone, sweat prickling his neck. This wasn't about buildings anymore. It was about reputation and survival. He met Daniel one last time. Neutral ground, a bench outside the first community center they built. The same swing set still creaked in the breeze. Kids played nearby, unaware that the men who built their safe haven were now barely speaking. I need you to walk away, Sam said. Daniel nodded. From the projects? No, from me. Daniel looked down. I figured. I'm going to restructure everything, separate the finances, clear the rumors. Daniel nodded again. For what it's worth, I didn't do it for me. I did it for Troy, for you. I know, Sam said, but that doesn't make it right. Daniel stood. I'll sign whatever you need, but Sam. What? He met Sam's eyes. You'll regret not trusting me. Sam didn't reply. The next few weeks were war. Legal teams, auditors, damage control. Sam worked 18-hour days, bled through sleepless nights, rebuilt the trust one call, one meeting, one painful apology at a time. He issued a public statement, took the blame for not disclosing connections, promised transparency. Some donors left, others stayed. Melissa, the Army vet, started volunteering at the center. Troy began leading addiction recovery sessions. The community, strangely, rallied harder than ever. Sometimes pain was a better cement than pride. But still, at night, when the city slept and the streets fell quiet, Sam would sit alone in his office and stare out the window, wondering, did I cut out the cancer, or did I just kill the heart? Fall came hard that year. The trees in Columbia turned copper and brittle. Winds bit through the alleyways. Sam wore the same wool coat every day, sleeves fraying at the edges. He wasn't sleeping, not deeply. The kind of rest he got now was the kind that came in jolts, cold, urgent, never kind. But the projects held. The shelters stayed open. The food drives grew. Volunteers came in shifts. One woman started a free tutoring group. A retired plumber offered to fix pipes for nothing but a cup of coffee and someone to talk to. It wasn't flashy. It was real. Sam poured himself into it like mortar between bricks. Every part of the city that still trusted him became sacred ground. And somehow, amidst the chaos, he and Troy began healing. His brother stayed clean, got his teeth fixed, started cracking jokes again, the old kind, the ones from before everything fell apart. You ever think about buying that creek? Troy asked one afternoon, grinning. Sam raised an eyebrow. What? Bottle the mud and sell it as organic therapy? No, Troy said, chuckling. I mean the land, where it all started, turn it into something. That idea stuck. Not because it was profitable, but because it was home. 3 weeks later, Sam drove back to the place he hadn't seen since childhood. The creek was smaller now, or maybe he was just taller. The trees leaned in like old friends, and the water still made that soft, gurgling noise, like secrets being whispered over rocks. The land was up for sale, had been for years, forgotten, overgrown, littered with rust and rot. He made an offer on the spot. Didn't negotiate. Didn't haggle. Just wrote a number and shook the man's hand. They broke ground in spring. Not for housing, not for a clinic. For a park. A real one, trails, benches, a rec center with free lunches for kids and shade for the weary. He named it Wilkins Hollow, after the old man who paid them $5 to haul stones before they even knew what business was. At the opening ceremony, Sam stood under a tent, wind snapping the fabric, and tried to give a speech. He choked halfway through. Not on nerves. On memory. He stepped back from the mic, eyes full, throat closed. And then Troy stepped forward, put a hand on his shoulder, took the mic. Let me tell you something about my brother, he said, voice rough but steady. He doesn't quit, not on people, not on places, and when he builds something, he doesn't do it for headlines. He does it so folks like me have a shot, a real one. The applause came like thunder this time. A month later, Sam got a letter. No return address. Inside was a photo, an aerial shot of Wilkins Hollow. Beneath it, a note in handwriting he knew too well. You chose right, I was wrong, no more shadows, see you someday, D. Sam stared at it for a long time. Then he slid it into his desk drawer, not to forget, but to remember. Years passed. Sam never became a billionaire. He never went public or bought a yacht or made any 30 under 30 lists. But his projects spread. Quietly, like roots, he turned abandoned buildings into youth centers, empty schools into homes, sidewalks into lifelines. People called him the Brick Man, said he built places that felt like staying. He grew older, gray at the temples, hands stiff from years of lifting things he didn't have to. Sometimes he'd walk the creek trail and see kids tossing rocks, laughing like he once did. Sometimes, late at night, he'd think of Daniel, not with anger, but with the ache of a man who lost something necessary. Not love, not loyalty, something in between. And he'd wonder if Daniel ever built again, somewhere far quiet out of the headlines. He hoped so, because some men chase money. Others build empires. But the rarest ones, they build people. And Sam Palmer, stubborn, scarred, and steady, had done just that. One riverbank at a time.